I don't know. I don't know what that means. Yeah,
Could be.
could be.
Well, that's a really lovely way to start off We Were Gamers episode number 393.
I can edit out.
I don't know why, but okay, you do what you do.
Oh.
Hello, I'm JJ, and we got Andy and Michael over here.
My PC needs to be restarted to finish setting up XVDD SCSI mini port.
You know, I think it doesn't, maybe.
I think
yeah.
that message can be turn off all notifications. That's
Yeah.
what we're dealing with in Windows 11, you guys.
Yeah. Do you even... why do you even have a SCSI anything?
I don't
That's-
think
yeah.
I do. I think it's
Yeah,
some sort of
good.
weird virtual artifact of... I don't know if it's any of the drivers for audio or what. I have no idea.
Could be. Well, in an era where everything is so confusing and unclear what's going on, Andrew, aren't you happy to have the Super Earth Ministry of Truth to tell you what to do?
It's pretty clear that they know exactly what's going on and exactly what people should be doing. And if we just believe in the management of democracy, everything will turn out okay, I think. What a game.
So did you dive in as well, JJ?
I did do a bit of diving. I attempted to play some more Helldiving this past week. After I played with Andy and some friends. That was a great time, by the way.
Yeah.
I attempted to play some more by myself. And
Okay,
then
solo.
I remembered why
Mhm.
you don't play multiplayer games with people on the internet.
Remember last week when I said there was maybe some problems out there in the world?
Oh, are there some problems out here in the world? Some? Who could say? Some unknown number?
Let's see. Did we run into team killing?
So no, I won't say that the people that I played with were like abjectly horrible human beings, but it's no fun. Like it isn't as fun as everyone like yelling, "Oh God, over there! Ah, why did someone blow me up with the orbital strike?" Like or whatever. It's just like people like pinging the map aggressively and like one person on the microphone being like, "Why aren't these other people on the mic?"
I had a different experience the first couple levels I played because I played with new players and it was much more of a like, we're all just sort of trying to figure it out. But I'm guessing at the higher levels, it's just people already know what they want to do. I agree, though, that I think I have not played very much when people I know are not on. Now, the ranks of people we know who have this game are expanding, JJ.
Yeah, I mean, by virtue of the fact that I have it, you already probably know someone who's on almost all the times that you are on.
Friend of the pod.
Exaggeration, but yeah, I know there's
friend of the
more.
pod. Ken now has this game.
You would say coming to help finish the fight.
I would say Carbon Scorings. Ken is ready to score some bucks.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Well played.
Yeah. You're alluding to the Xbox. I don't know that that's happening.
I have no idea if it's happening either. I
think that there's a fun community aspect to the game that is sort of out there if you want to look for it. Like the Reddit is pretty funny overall. There
are
people
on the internet that are like way into this game are like very funnily way into it. You know, when people are like, I don't think we're going to keep this planet, guys. There's a bunch of people replying being like, that sounds like traitorous talk. or
like, there's
we
a lot
will
of
die in space Vietnam if we have to. We don't care. Like kind of stuff.
Yeah. Or, there's people discovering stuff still because we haven't been to certain planets. So like this past week, people discovered that on this one planet, you can make snowballs and throw them at each other.
That's cool.
But we hadn't been to a snow planet yet.
The thing that I saw recently was that people found stratagems that call in an APC somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And someone found a writable mech.
There's also NPC squads that have been callable in certain missions. So it seems like they're testing stuff live in the game by just adding them as stratagems to planets.
Oh, it's like the smartest thing to do, right? Because if you think that you're going to have, something that you add is going to break the game, you already have 8 billion people playing the game that broke the game for you before.
Yeah.
Have all of them jump in and try and see if like running your thing is going to break it, right?
That is going to be the very cool push and pull of this game that is going to be fun to watch and participate in, because Michael, people have started to think about how to beat the mission designs already.
Okay.
With full squads. So like, hey, how about, there's a lot of these missions where you have to defend a space. Well, what if we all took 4 stratagems of mortar sentries, so that when we have a full squad, we can all throw down 16 mortar sentries at a time.
Okay.
And then we just stand in the center so we don't get hit by the mortars. It turns out you could just do that and just win the map, no problem. Like, just erase the map. Pretty good.
We have solved King of the Hill.
Well, so then the game has turns out a game master, like a dungeon master, and he can just sort of go in and be like, well,
I think this is the thing that I found super interesting, is that
it's
not the galactic war, quote unquote, that they have in this game. You thought maybe this was like, some numbers behind the scenes. They're checking how many wins and losses. And I'm sure there are. But they have a role that they specifically give to this guy. The guy's name is Joel, by the way, which is very funny.
There are very good memes of using the Last of Us Joel.
Yes, nice. There you go. So, sometimes the wins and the losses are scripted. Overall, sometimes the Imperium pushes out and sometimes the Imperium loses ground, Or I would never call it an Imperium, sorry. The spread of managed democracy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's someone behind the scenes actually like orchestrating all this stuff. So, when the community makes these big pushes in certain areas to try and gain ground or whatever, they can go with that or not, because obviously they're watching, they know what's happening, and they have access to the better data even.
When they can go in and tweak the data. So like, essentially a mission does damage to a planet, and then the planet has regen based on that. So they can go in and just tweak the regen if they want, or they can change the way missions work. They can make missions unavailable on a planet. Your favorite mission type is that defend mission, because you can just use mortars. Well, you're taking
Not
this
anymore.
planet, so there's no defend missions. Yeah.
Or there's your favorite mission type is this this one where you're attacking a certain base because you found some kind of like terrain mission, and now they'll never fight on that map again until we fix it, and then there you go, right? Like they have a lot of power.
Well, while we're talking about it, since he'll be back when he's back, the other really funny thing, Michael, that's cropping up is like in the Reddit community, people are trying to discuss. There's a gun in the game called the railgun.
Okay.
And it's pretty good. You can use it. So in the game, you can shoot third person. Most of the time, you're going to shoot in third person. But there's a few guns. There's a few guns that are really highly accurate at long range. So like the railgun, the autocannon, even the machine gun actually can be. It's hard to see because of the blow off from the side of the gun, but there's a lot of them that are very highly accurate, and so you can actually switch into first person, and you can make the gun remember how you like to shoot it. And the railgun is one that people really like to use because it could shoot like halfway across the map.
Sure. Yeah.
Every gun has modes to it that you can access by holding down reload. And they're all kind of wacky and different. Like you can put some stuff into single shot, or like some stuff into full auto that really shouldn't be, or things like that. Well, the railgun just says safe and unsafe.
Oh no.
Yeah. So safe has like 1 charge meter and it goes to the red. Unsafe doubles the charge meter.
And it's just the other half,
and it's
is just
all in the red above. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So people online are like, hey, the railgun's the best gun. Put it in unsafe mode. Learn to time it to 2.9 seconds, and you'll never overheat the gun and explode yourself. So it's one of those like strategies of like get good with this thing,
Right.
so that you can be good at the game. But there are other people that are like, well, why don't you just use the autocannon? It's almost as good as the railgun at unsafe mode. It shoots about as far. It's like everything is almost as good, right? But you can carry a lot more ammo for it. And the way that people interact with that type of knowledge, instead of like having a discussion like you would in Apex Legends or whatever about the like, well, this has 18 hit point damage and that has 14 hit point damage, but the rate of fire is 2.5 and that one's 2.9.
Right, you
All
math,
that type of stuff.
it to death.
No, that's not what happens. Some people are like, I really love the autocannon. Some people are like, I think the railgun's still better. And then about the 5th post down, you start to get into like, this is bug propaganda. This is just the bugs trying to change the narrative so that we stop using the railgun because the railgun's better and therefore,
you're in the pocket of Big Rail.
Everyone it just devolves from there. Every single discussion is like this. Pretty good.
Also, I think the devs have posted and basically are like, we show you like 3 stats per gun. There are like 50 stats per gun.
Yeah.
You should just use the one you like. It kind of barely matters.
Well, they've also posted like people are like this shotgun, the break shotgun, right? Is busted, like so good. Everyone thinks it's so good. And the devs are like, they posted the other day, while we are looking at some balance changes to the game, just so you know, most successful missions don't use the break shotgun. Like statistically speaking, break shotgun, not on most successful teams.
Meanwhile, I'm still saving my war bonds to buy it. So,
I mean, it's very fun to use and still good. I've heard the grenade launcher. I've watched someone use the grenade launcher and gone, wow, they just closed an entire heavy bug nest all by themselves from long range. Pretty good stratagem.
I like that.
That's
I understand what you're saying about not wanting to play with randoms online.
Yeah. And to be fair, it wasn't like we won the mission, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't do every single thing, and the one person was like, there's still more, guys. Why are you leaving? It's like, shut up, dude. Who cares? I'm here to play a video game. Like,
yeah, let's just extract. Who cares? It's fine.
Yeah. And other people were like going along with it, so it was kind of like whatever,
Yeah. I mean, the flow of an open match is just different, and I think not enough people played Halo 2. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to go with the flow, where it's like, oh, this isn't an all pistols match, but it sure is turning into one.
Man, I miss all pistols.
Being headshotted across the map from the pistol.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
The best pistol in video games, man. Always will be.
I think it's a game.
Every developer saw that, was like, this was a bad idea.
Let this be your cautionary tale.
I unlocked that full auto pistol in Helldivers, and it's pretty fun.
The like Uzi looking one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used that a couple of times. It's good.
It's so stupid. I think it's a game that will last. They haven't even introduced half the stuff they think that they have planned. And they're like, you know what? No, we're not going to roadmap the game. We're not telling you what we're adding. We're just going to make this game fun, right? Like, stop, just play.
Yeah. It's the smart move. And they've already hinted that there's probably more like enemy races out there. Going by the first game, there's at least one more. So
yeah,
we'll see what comes out. It should be fun.
Yeah. I'm happy to keep playing it.
Speaking of stuff that's a cautionary tale, you guys.
Uh-oh.
I kept playing Balatro.
Oh, yeah.
Are you the cautionary tale, or are we saying that we were wrong about Balatro?
No one's wrong about Balatro. It's great, and everyone should play it. But the cautionary tale part is like, it's so easy to just get into runs and then be like 7 runs deep and not paying close enough attention and just completely ruin yourself.
Oh no. Oh, you mean like your deck or your sleep?
Well, the sleep is a separate thing. We're also maybe ruining that sometimes. But like I made a build recently that was really focused on building like a flush, right? So I would get, I had all these bonuses for flushes. I had changed a bunch of the cards to be clubs and diamonds, I think they were, that I had a lot of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I had turned a bunch of cards into clubs and then turned other cards into diamonds. So like I had like roughly double the amount of those that I should normally have, but not quite all. So there's still a chance you could get a few here and there that would mess the flush up, right?
Okay.
And you get to one of the later bosses, and the bosses are randomized. You just run into different ones, and it's like you can only play one type of hand when you're fighting this boss.
Okay.
Oh no.
So if you can't draw a flush,
You can't play.
you can never play one later because it will never count. And at this point, when you're getting towards like the anti 7, anti 8 levels, you're kind of thinking about like, okay, how can I like extend and empower this build? Because I need to be scaling, right? At this point, you can't just be like squeaking out the wins every time. You got to be getting like, your engine needs to be running at this point. You have to be getting the multipliers that are increasing every single time, right? Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're
it
never
has
going to
to
get enough points.
it has to be the Dominion auto deck, right? Where like every turn you're just buying a province and there's nothing that anyone can do about it because the deck just is its own thing now.
Yeah, totally. You have whatever kind of like engine your jokers are supposed to enable. You have, your multipliers are just stacking every single time, right? And so one of the ways in this run I had been stacking my multiplier is that you would discard the first discarded poker hand that you discard would increase its level. So if I discard a flush, it would increase the level of all flushes going forward. Right.
But you need to play flushes against that boss.
But I need to play flushes against that boss. But it's like, oh, well, what is the chance? I have so many here.
No.
I'll just discard this low card numbers too, because then also you're thinking about, well, like I need to be playing flushes really with like face cards, aces, nines, tens. I can't really be playing a flush that's like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not enough points really to like really hit the upper echelons of what you need to get these like super high numbers, right? It's like, oh, I'll discard this flush. Then the next flush that I play is going to be better. And so you're like, all right, fine. You do the discard and you're like, oh, now I'm like kind of evenly split between these two numbers. All right, well, I'll pick one and go all for that one, use all my discards, and then only draw the other one. Wrecked.
Yeah. I think that's when I wish I still had my GG button.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, it is still a chance and luck based game,
Right.
That's why you play.
Still really enjoying it. Definitely fun to like run through a couple runs here and there.
Yeah, I've already decided I have a that's on the short list for the spring sale or whatever it is,
Yeah. The game is inexpensive for folks out there that are on the border. It's like $15 or something, well worth it. And it's on the Switch too, so if you want to switch.
The only reason I have not bought it is because I want to force myself to play Helldivers in the free time that I'm not playing COTC.
Oh,
It's a good move.
No shade, man.
Because I know I would just play Balatro.
Yeah. It's too easy to slide it in everywhere, and then it just takes over, right? Especially once you get a run going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of COTC there, Andy, how have you been doing?
I have taken down 2 Hell duos this week.
Oh,
man.
Nice.
Crag, Spear, and Hornberg.
You're now officially better than me.
I really need them to stop with these.
Well, there's only one more.
And then the new chapter added a level 100 also, didn't it?
But not a duo.
Okay, well, the problem is these fights. with the need for the allies. Although maybe the newer fights will be better because you won't have to chase allies. You could just use the summons from the newer summons that are better from the
adversary log.
adversary summons.
Can you not use those against the duos now? You can,
You
right?
can, but the old duos need you to like break 24 shields in one turn. You know what I mean?
Sure. And unless one of those is sword, you're definitely not going to use any of the new allies, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So
just remember with those that they have a charge time to them, so you can't use them in the first couple of turns of the fight.
yeah, well, the issue isn't that. It's that like during the Hornburg one, I made it, I don't know, like 9.5 turns in, and I missed a tiny bit of damage, and it threw off the run enough that like now I'm fighting from behind, and then Cyrus died, and you're like 12 turns in, you've already used 4 summons. So now I have to go chase down those allies again and again because they don't have that many uses. And it takes, I don't know, it takes an hour to set up the team. Right? Unsetting up the team is fine because you can save the team, and then just revert back.
Right.
Mhm.
But Lord, it just every duo is like a whole night to commit to, and like JJ said, you have to then commit to like, well, this person needs their sword upgraded to level 3, otherwise I'm not going to get enough damage. The pets have helped a little bit with adding little tiny stat sticks to everybody, but it's so unforgiving. Some of this stuff is just so unforgiving in terms of its time usage.
I won't lie. I took some really hard swings there at the first duo for a while, and then it didn't. I couldn't make it work for whatever reason, and then I kind of never went back. And I'm like not really thinking about it. What do you get for clearing them? Is it just some
200
rubies?
rubies.
200 rupees.
Yeah, like that's a lot. I could still use it for sure, but like I'm not.
Yeah, well, I feel bad for having missed those hammy rubies, and I was like, I got to make up for it on this account because now I can't even pull. I'm like at the point that I can't even pull on good characters. Like I missed the tiny pull we tried on Tatlock. I had to skip Solon. I don't have Sonya. My account's starting to get to be in trouble, and a lot of the people that make like help on these things don't go backward, right? No one's gone back to like make new content about old content and be like, yeah, you can beat it easily this way now. So if you want to try and beat it with new characters, like throwing Rinyu or whatever into these comps, you're kind of on your own, and it just takes a long time to learn the patterns and all this type of stuff, and without newer characters that you can be like, oh, well, this person clearly replaces that person because it does, certain types of damage or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of rough. So
yeah, I feel like there were some good content creators in the community who were making stuff like that, going back and tackling older content with the current state of power creep, even without the leading edge characters, and several of them have kind of drifted away.
I think Grind or whoever that is still out there doing wacky stuff like, here's how to beat Tiki in 2 turns now.
Yep.
I was going to say the stuff you see mostly is the really accessible, like arena champions. I saw a 2-turn Yan Long. I saw like a 1-turn Gertrude, like a bunch of crazy stuff that's happening for those. But they're super easy. You just go into the menu and tap the button, and you're in the fight, right? Like
Yeah.
people aren't going back and doing the duos and stuff because they're, like Andy rightfully points out, a huge hassle.
I wonder if the strategy going forward needs to be for this game that there's so much in it to do that the things like these adversary logs and stuff where you can get into fights through menuing, it needs to start being the norm,
It seems to be, right? Other than the like one level 100 NPC that was added in this, they added a ton of those adversary fights, and there are rubies on all of those. Like, it's not 200, right? But there's 30 rubies here, 50 rubies there. Them as a summon if you get high enough, awakening shards if you beat Hammy, all this kind of stuff. Like, there's
a bunch of
stuff
good
in
stuff
there. Yeah.
I was a little down on it a few weeks ago. I tried to pep myself up by being like, I can beat these duos. and I can, but then you look at you're like, man, that was 3.5 hours to do that.
Well, Andy, if you want some easy wins, let me tell you about Fior EX and a couple of those characters in the adversary logs that use only magic or only physical.
Captain Tristan will be a fun fight for you.
You can
really
just boost that SP and basically 1A your way through the battle if you want.
I tried, but I think I need to upgrade the fan or something because I don't know why she doesn't have as much SP as other. Maybe she needs some pets or something. I look at other people's and she's got way less SP, and I still have an SP fan on her.
I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there are the souls that give things are better. There are better versions of them now, so it could be that the versions that you used are the lower grade ones, and there's higher grade ones now.
Very likely.
The gold version gives 40 more SP at a good roll, right? That kind
very,
of thing.
very likely. Yeah, there's probably rainbows of everything, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably.
Just about at this point.
So that's very likely to be the difference there. But yeah, those fights, hey, they award rubies when you win them for a while, like
yeah.
And you can summon them later. Although I don't know I've ever summoned either of those two, but
I've used the Chomper
from the Airy fight.
Yeah, from spear damage.
Yeah, silly. I think I haven't even beaten that one in the EX levels yet.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they're still adding stuff. I'm glad the game's still vibrant. The community seems to be quieting down a little bit in terms of its fervor and content. I don't think I'm not saying it's dead or anything. I just I think we're all kind of in the same space now of like there's a certain grade of content getting added, and it's all high grade stuff.
It's like settling into a rhythm now,
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of nice. It's not a crazy pace anymore.
I've been speaking of like falling into rhythms, I've been continuing on playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I really enjoy. They do a couple of really good things in this game. We already talked about Dondoko Island and Animal Crossing.
I thought we uninstalled Pal World.
We did. And later in the game, this game has the dual protagonist thing. They have both Ichiban and Kiryu, and this game is kind of a send off for Kiryu as he's sort of exiting the series, and Ichiban is sort of ascending. And they do a really good thing with Kiryu in this game of like, going back and remembering all his past and like things he's done in all the various games, making call outs to the other various games of the series. And in battle, one of the ways that manifests itself is like his ultimate ability, basically. Ichiban has one where like, he calls on all his friends and they have a big team attack. Kiryu's version of that is you hold down the trigger to activate the ultimate ability, and it like unlocks the old Yakuza fighting style inside the turn-based game.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's fun.
And so it's basically it turns the game into a brawler for a limited period of time. Like a bar appears at the top of the screen, and you can just button mash and do your attack combos, and square triangle and uppercut and kick and throw and all that stuff. And you see little damage numbers flying off their head, so it's clearly calculating the damage as you go. But it's all his old moves that he used to do, in those games. And I saw that for the first time. I was like, this is the coolest idea. Like, good job, whoever you spent all this time creating this like dynamic turn-based system or whatever. And then you're just like, the old game is here, guys. We're putting all this stuff on top, by the way. It's cool though, like, right? And you're like, yeah, it is cool.
That's good fan service.
Exactly. Yeah. Very cool. So been trucking my way through that game. That game is long. It might be a while, but I've been really enjoying that.
I'm amazed that they keep making them long. Like they're pumping those games out, and they're all seem to get good reviews. It's kind of like the Assassin's Creed heyday almost.
Yeah, I one of the things that's interesting about these games is that the story is very long, right? but they kind of all use the same areas over and over. So like you're back in the same cities that you've been in before. And you're like, well, wait, isn't this just like boring, like reusing the same assets over and over? You're like, no, I love this city. Like, this is a great city. It's cool.
It's my
I
city.
remember, yeah. It's like, I remember on this street when I got into the fight with this guy, and like, we threw down here and like I, made him leave his clan. Like I embarrassed him in front of his family here. And like, oh, this building was where we had the shootout. And like I was running from the cops and a bomb went off in this building over here and all that stuff. And then, every so often, right? They're just very slowly like, hey, some public money came in. They redeveloped this part of the town. It's a little nicer over here. They put in a big skyscraper where there didn't used to be one. This kind of stuff, right? And so it's a very smart way to just like very slowly over time develop the town. And you're like, oh yeah. And Kiryu will walk up to this area now and be like, I remember when there used to be a park here and they put in this new building, right? Like that kind of stuff. Because in the old games, there was a park there. So it's very good, fan service like that. So, all right, Andy. So, I'm sorry, we have to talk about it.
Oh boy, I know where this is going. I
Go ahead.
Why can't they get out of their own way? What?
This had to be how it went, right?
Right? Yeah, Michael.
What you got?
Did you ever watch The Love Bug?
Herbie, yeah.
Could you imagine if Herbie was just like a well-behaved car that decided he wanted to win all his races and like not cause any drama? How quickly and easily he would just win all his races?
I mean, the movie would be 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't
it? They start the race, they win, everyone celebrates and goes home. The end.
Red Bull has built the perfect race car and has basically a computerized Chazbot AI who has memorized all the tracks and knows exactly how to ride them perfectly.
Okay.
You can basically like engrave his name on the trophy now. It feels just like take Max Verstappen's name and just write it in there.
They've won one race, but they've also only run one race. And by lap 17, he was 30 seconds ahead. It's insane.
And it really looked like he probably could have done more. Like he just wasn't, because he didn't need to.
Let's not blow up the car or crash at this point, right? Like just gonna cruise the rest of the way. And yet they love bugged themselves.
Oh no.
We talked, I think, a little bit.
Funny you say love bug, given what they're accused of.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to fill us in on that one, but I think we talked about the podcast like a few weeks ago. At the end, it was like, "Oh, what's this Christian Horner thing all about? The principal of the Red Bull team." Mm-hmm. Oh, is there something to it? Is it just weird UK labor law stuff? It doesn't seem like that big a deal. And then, like a week later, the Red Bull says, "Oh, we finished our investigation, and we've decided to take no action. There's nothing actionable here. It looks like everything's fine."
The typical company notice that you always totally believe, yeah. It's like, trust us, guys. Everything is fine. No wrongdoing here. Thumbs up. Right? And you're like,
it's week one. It's week one. And what we should be talking about is the fact that the side pods on the Red Bull are insane. And how did they build a car that's even faster than last year when everybody else built a car that's faster than Red Bull's last year?
Yeah. Like, that's the other thing. Everyone got faster. And, like, if they were just racing last year's Red Bull against all these teams, they wouldn't even win, probably. So they still did all this. And yet, now the only thing that anyone wants to talk about is, like, here are these alleged messages that Christian Horner sent to a subordinate that were not good, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And the instigator of all that is immediately, I think within minutes of their like, oh, we concluded that everything's fine. And of course, arch rival Toto Wolff is out there like, this is bad for the sport. We need to investigate. The FIA needs to suspend all racing. We need to know everything that's happened, air all the dirty laundry. Like,
To be fair, to be fair to Toto, he was second. Zach Brown was first, the McLaren CEO. So it
that's
was
true.
not like, not far off though, but they were both like, yeah, we should definitely investigate those guys. Like, don't look back here, but please investigate them.
Look
They're
over
winning.
there. Yeah. Our teams have never been investigated for these types of problems or other problems that, might be financial in nature.
Uh-huh.
Who could say? But and then it's like anytime anything happens, now the media is like blowing it into extremes because there's nothing to talk about. Like Red Bull is killing everybody again, right? It's like Max Verstappen's dad and Christian Horner got into an argument. Is Max going to Mercedes now? It's like, guys, no. Like it's probably not happening. I don't know why. Like,
Well,
maybe he could, but like pigs could fly if you throw them.
There's a behind the scenes person that says a huge rift has developed in Red Bull with Horner in one camp. But there's a key man phrase in Max Verstappen's contract. So when Helmut quits Red Bull, he can go to Mercedes. And it's like, what? Why is Helmut quitting Red Bull?
He's very old. Like Helmut Marko is a very old man. He's like in his 80s. So,
right.
Sure. But like, why would he quit over Christian Horner? That makes no sense. Like, I don't know how you go from that's like the why string would Helmut, on the board, like pointing
why
all
would
the
Helmut
things
not
together
just be like,
connecting
Christian,
pieces.
Christian, you're out. Like what?
I mean, he can't do that either, right? Because he's not technically the person in charge of that guy. So it's all like one of these like, these all famous guys all at the top, but like none of them are actually each other's bosses. So they can all just yell at each other. They can't do anything about it, But also
let's see. I own Red Bull F1. Max's dad says Max is leaving unless we fire Christian Horner.
What are you going to do?
What am I going to do?
Something to note, though, Christian Horner has been the only team principal of Red Bull F1 the entire time.
I know, yeah.
He's been there longer than Max. He won championships before Max was in the sport.
With Daniel Ricciardo?
No, with Sebastian Vettel.
But Daniel was second on that team, right?
Were those the years? Maybe.
I think it was when Ricciardo was supposed to take over for him, and then he left. Right?
Yeah, Ricciardo left when Max came in, basically, and was like, oh, no, they're replacing the guy I wanted to be with this guy.
I knew it was Vettel that won the titles, but I was trying to think of like people that are still on the grid.
Right? Like, who is the best spokesperson Red Bull has? It's Max Verstappen, right? Like, would they endanger that over this other guy who seems like he's not that nice of a human?
I mean, we already knew he wasn't that. You watch Drive to Survive, and you're like, none of it's like
they're all horrible, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So when people are like, "Oh, he's going to Mercedes," I'm like, Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen are not going to get along. I don't know how to tell you.
Look, Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen's dad aren't going to get along because that's the other thing, right? Like, Max's dad is always there. Like, I wonder, do we need to like take Max into a back room and say like,
"Are you okay?
You can tell us."
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, like you can tell us it's okay. We'll get rid of him. You're the star, not him. And people have brought up these in a very like meme-y kind of way, like these old interviews where like Max is talking to the press or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my father used to ride me so hard about these things," and people are like, is he just casually telling us that like he has like a bunch of childhood trauma from dealing with his dad? And it's like, I'm sure that's not how it is, but it is like people, love to make stories about this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
his dad is always there. He's very frequently there.
Yeah. The rumors now are that the leaks were from Joss. So,
if I just don't see what he would have to gain from doing that. Like, why would Joss? Does he just not like Christian Horner? Like, what is the benefit to Max? Like, that doesn't help him at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. Look,
it's amazing that we're not talking about like but we're not even. I brought up Ricciardo to see if you'd bite on the Sonoda Ricardo thing.
Oh, dude,
But
no,
we're not even
that's
talking about it.
Okay, last thing on the Red Bull stuff because I can't anymore with this. But if he's guilty of the stuff that people said and is in these messages, because the other thing is there's no proof that any of these messages are the real ones. Right? Like you can make this shit up with Chat GPT. It's not like they're screenshots of text messages. Like, how does anyone know that any of that's real? Like, who knows? Right? So if that stuff is real and what he's accused of is real, like they should like do something. He should be chastised badly. This is bad. Right? I don't know if you fire him or you do whatever, take him a 10-month sabbatical. I don't know, whatever. Like, it's bad. So
yeah, I mean, I was
that
watching.
he gets what's coming to him if that's the case.
There's people on YouTube and on Instagram that are showing, like AI generated videos of them and their voices endorsing things. It's like, what are we gonna do?
It's not hard to fake anymore.
What are we gonna do?
So,
I'm not saying it's fake. I very clearly have not. I haven't even read the text messages.
And to be clear, none of us are saying he did any of this. I want to be clear. The UK libel laws are very strong. They could sue us. I won't be sued for this.
Yeah,
allegedly.
I
have no idea what he did or didn't do.
That's
if he is guilty of these things, I hope he gets the punishment he deserves. That's what I will say.
Not, yeah.
And if he's not, I hope this goes away because it's not as interesting as the stuff like Ricardo and Sonoda having unforced errors during the race. They're on different strategies, guys. Why did you leave it to the last 2 laps? What are you doing?
Or Sonoda dive bombing him in the turn and then brake checking him.
Yuki reasonably is mad about them having Ricardo pass him and then Ricardo not doing anything. I get it, but also why was this even a thing if they were going to be doing different stuff? You did this to yourself. The call was coming from inside the house. They didn't have to do this,
Yeah, that's another reason to not leave Red Bull. Not a lot of the other teams have any idea what they're doing when it comes to strategy. They change it up mid-race all the time. They're like, I don't know, let's change it up or whatever,
And reacting to the conditions of the race and stuff is something you do want, but you want to react in a sensible and consistent manner. And it feels like, whichever way the wind blows today, we're going to switch everything up and it's going to be a nightmare for whoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of real weird stuff going on. How did you feel about the pace of the various cars? Because it seems like it's the Max Verstappen show in the front. Don't even look at the front. Yep. No one cares about number 1. Numbers 2 through 8 are kind of interesting though.
Well, 2 is Red Bull.
Checo, you mean?
Checo, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's still Red Bull too.
But I wonder though, if Leclerc hadn't been hobbled by that weird brake issue the whole race, would it have been closer?
Oh yeah, he was pulling to the right or something.
So the thing that came out afterwards was that Ferrari said that he had some weird brake issue on one side in the front specifically for whatever reason. I didn't hear why, but there was something about the front right or left, whichever side it was, brake that caused him to have to drive with the wheel at a weird position. And then he couldn't turn well in that direction because of this. It wouldn't brake good over there. And they said later that there was a difference of 100 degrees between the brake on that side and on the other side.
Whoa.
And it's not like these parts aren't meant to get very hot. It wasn't like the part was going to explode. But obviously, if one is 100 degrees cooler than the other one, it's probably going to do better at least, right?
Yeah.
And so that was their this is why, because it was this cooling issue or whatever was going on with that brake. It was so much hotter. It just couldn't work. It couldn't function as good.
Leclerc and Sainz both looked good. But,
Leclerc was close always to Checo for a long time, right? And would he have been able to keep up and make the race more interesting if he hadn't had those issues, right? Who knows?
Ferraris always look good until they break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
if they fix their reliability issues, maybe, and then
So I think
Mercedes making it look instantly of course Lewis is leaving.
you really wonder what's going on with Lewis and the Mercedes team? Because it's like George Russell is out there like killing it, man. He's doing very well, right? What place did he get? Like fifth, third,
Fifth, I think.
fourth, fifth?
Fifth, I think. My
Because
brain
both
says
Ferraris
fifth.
were ahead of him, right? Yeah,
Yeah, both Ferraris
yeah.
were.
But like only close at the end did Leclerc pass him, right? And so
Yes,
like,
that's right.
you know, he got fifth. I think Hamilton was like eighth,
Seventh.
seventh. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
it was better than I
'cause
thought.
it was pretty sure like one of the McLarens is probably Norris, right? Was up at the
Yeah.
top, and then you had the
It
usual
went like
suspects of
it went
everybody
like
else.
it went like Mercedes, McLaren, I think.
Yeah,
And then Aston Martins, and then everyone else. So, yeah, I think the Mercedes, Red Bull, or the Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren pack could be interesting to watch this year. And actually, the back of the pack looks like they're all pretty close together too.
I don't know,
The
man. People keep doing stuff in and around Lance Stroll, and somehow he's P10. I don't know if that means he's turned into a good driver or not, but like he's still a magnet for crashes. And yet,
I gotta believe
P10.
that Lance. I gotta believe you replaced Lance Stroll with like Sebastian Vettel or anyone else from the past, any other like racer that's out there and not doesn't have a seat currently, and you would probably gain a place and a half.
I don't know. Maybe Alex Albon goes into that car and he's probably in sixth.
It certainly seems like he's driving the wheels off that Williams, compared to his Logan Sargent there, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that these other teams are going to figure their stuff out, and they're not going to beat Red Bull. It's over. It's going to be the Max Verstappen first place every race show. But I'm optimistic that like 2nd through 8th will be interesting, and then like 8th through 15th will be interesting every race, right?
I want to see K-Mag take that Haas into the top 10 next race.
It feels like there's a chance for it, whereas last year it didn't feel like it, right?
That'd be pretty cool.
On the lucky day, some of those teams in the back can get points, right? Like Tsunoda could get a point, Stroll could get a point.
No.
But maybe though, they didn't finish that far back, right?
Sure. Right.
Like some of these guys could on a lucky day, something goes wrong, could get a point. Whereas last year it felt like these dudes are 12th plus every time without fail.
Yeah. Well, last year when you had like 6 not finish in the last race, yeah, I guess you could.
Yeah. So I guess that's the other thing is that
I mean, everyone after 11
is less likely to break down too, right?
But I mean, everyone after I think 11th got lapped. So
yeah. But I mean, now that every car finished the race, which is I think they said it was a record, the first time that on the opening Grand Prix of the season, no one retired. That had never happened before in Formula One history. It's kind of wild to think. Like there's almost 100 years of Grand Prix racing, and that's never happened.
What is it, like 1950?
Yeah, the modern Formula One, 1950, yeah.
So 74 years, and they haven't had a race number 1 without a breakdown.
Where, no one has ever retired, or they've never had the first race where no one retired, right?
Wow.
Very funny. But, showing where the advancement is coming, right? All right. Well, we had a lot of random topics this week, dudes. I think, Michael, you got to let them know how they can get at us with some more random topics for us to discuss next time.
Yeah, they can hit us at podcast@weweregamers.com. Andy, are we getting close to an email episode?
I think we should do it. Let's see. You do the things. I'll look at the email real quick. See how stacked we are.
You can also find us on social medias. We Were Gamers. And you should go check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@weweregamers.
Objectively, the best way to watch.
Even subjectively.
That's true. You're correct in that.
I think we could pull off an email episode.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
there's some
getting there,
stuff.
folks.
You heard it.
There's
Get your
some-
emails in.
There's some stuff. Oh my god, there's an Ava email in here.
Podcast at
Ooh.
wewergamers.com. That's podcast at wewergamers.com. Podcast at wewergamers.com, the email address.
There's an Ava in here.
Is it time? You're saying it's time to get back in the robot?
No. No, you can't make me. I don't want to.